Originally known as Emerald Hill, the inner city suburb of South Melbourne today offers a fantastic lifestyle and a variety of property alternatives. To tell us more, we caught up with Fletcher's Scott O'Halloran. Scott, South Melbourne, a pretty vibrant place. I imagine a touch of glamour now that they're doing the block here.
Yeah, look, it's created a fair bit of interest. It's a national program, so the locals have got a fair bit of interest. Also, some of the out-of-area people are coming to see it as well. So it's good for the locals around here.
Yeah, I guess a phenomenon. You see people coming to just look at the suburb, I suppose, see what attractions it's got.
Yeah, look, South Melbourne offers a fair bit. It's almost like a central location for the outer areas. It services the Albert Park area, the Middle Park, and it's part of the Port Melbourne, and also South Bank. So it's fairly good for the locals, yeah.
And it's got the mix of the little cottages, but also a fair amount of apartments available.
Yeah, there is. Look, there's a fair bit on South Melbourne with that sort of size property. Look, you know, a lot of people are interested, young professionals, in moving to the area. It's close to the city, and it offers good-sized properties with some good space, yeah.
I was going to say that because there's a lot of hotels in South Melbourne. It does seem to have a youngish feel to it.
Yeah, look, I live in the area, and some of the other agents in this office live in the area. It offers locals, you know, great cafes. You've also got the South Melbourne market there. That's a really good thing for the locals, yeah.
And you'd be lifting a lot of weights down at MSAC. Scott, you'd be going down there swimming a couple of Ks every day.
Look, I try, work long hours, so yeah, it's rare that I get down there.
And I guess South Melbourne being so close to town, you capture a lot of the apartment market with things like City Road and in the city.
Yeah, look, there's some new buildings going up and new apartments coming on the market, and you're seeing some of the entry-level apartments down on the City Road area, which are coming in around the mid-threes, maybe to high threes, closer to 4.
For a one-bedroom?
From one bedroom, and then you've probably got the two-bedders, which are mid-4s going up to 5, so there's some great value in those new buildings going up. Yep.
And plenty of demand still for those?
Yeah, definitely. You see that on the weekend, you see people down in that area, and we have apartments in there, and there's a lot of action, yeah.
Cam, South Melbourne, a pretty dynamic little suburb. What do you like about it at the moment from an investment point of view?
Oh, look, I think in most parts, South Melbourne has a diverse demographic of different people that live here. You've got some people underprivileged and then corners of wealth. So the diversity in this suburb is extreme, and one of the main reasons I love being here and having our office here.
And it's still got room for growth here?
Absolutely. So I think we need to be selective on the types of properties that you look at and the streets that you buy on, but absolutely consistently outperforms the majority of Melbourne. One of those suburbs that investors immediately look to, this and other parts of South Melbourne and districts surrounding it. So typically what you see is there's quite a substantial amount of residential home interest between Clarendon Street and Canterbury Road in South Melbourne. So your Bridport Streets, your Raglan Streets and the Cecil Street surrounds. Howe Avenue obviously being one of the more affluent streets in South Melbourne as well.
What are people paying in those areas?
Well, there's some fairly significant prices paid for some good homes through there. It's a very expensive part and does actually achieve results similar to what an Albert Park would in some streets. But you'd be looking at a median value in those areas beyond $1 million, and some of those houses achieving well in excess of that.
And what are your rental returns?
Rental returns are about 4%, so subject to the type of property you're looking at. The Victorian homes and the period homes would have achieved probably slightly less than that. Your apartments would achieve slightly more than that.
Areas you might shy away from, Cameron, in South Melbourne?
There are some areas in South Melbourne that we would recommend our investors have a close look at. Parts of South Melbourne have a pro-development, I guess, aspect to them. So we've seen a lot of high-rise type buildings being built. And we ask investors to just be careful when they're buying in those types of buildings. Off-the-plan projects, buildings with lifts, pools, gyms and those sorts of facilities aren't necessarily what all tenants are looking for, and also increase the holding costs.
The market's very popular?
It is. It's one of those locations, Des, where people aspire to live. So it's always popular. Don't underestimate that it has volatility in the top end of the market, just like any suburb does. Per square foot, it's a very expensive location to buy in. So South Melbourne, Albert Park and those areas per square foot are comparable with areas around the Botanical Gardens and Toorak in terms of what you will pay per little parcel of land.
Jeff, you've been selling real estate in South Melbourne for quite a while. It's a constantly changing suburb, being so close to the city.
Des, I have for over 20 years. It's 20 years ago, nobody wanted to buy houses in South Melbourne, and of course, its infrastructure being so close to the city here, it just naturally had to happen that it was going to be very favourable with people buying real estate.
What are people buying? You know, what are the popular spots?
Well, they're buying mainly in South Melbourne, mainly Victorian houses. That was the first allotments were in 1840, and of course people want to be close to the CBD, and transportation being as it is today is a real problem. and people want to be close to where they work and close to their families and schooling and all those services.
Okay, so what sort of money do you need to get into the South Melbourne market?
You probably need around about $1 million now. I mean, you could buy them from less than that, but probably by the time you've renovated them, you're rounding up. And of course, stamp duty is a terrible word these days. It's $55,000 on stamp duty. That frightens quite a few people.
And what do you get for your $1 million?
Well, you buy a nice little single front that's probably on about 120, 130, up to 150 square metres, depending on its location. The allotments in South Melbourne are smaller than what they are in the Middle Park, sort of Albert Park precinct, because they were developed in the early part, and as they developed the area, they made them bigger.
What is it about South Melbourne that people love? What places and spots?
Well, maybe the vibrance of the market, and of course the lake and the parklands and things down there are always an attraction. But of course not to forget the beach, not far away. That's been a big drawing factor of people coming to this area.